Good morning, and welcome to the Cyber Smart Morning News Update. With the always evolving world of cyber threats and defense, you need a source you can trust. FBI retired Special Agent Darren Mott guides you through today's intricate cyber landscape and brings you the latest headlines and insights and what it means to you. Let's dive into today's cyber news.
Good morning, friends. It is Wednesday, September 18th, 2024. This is the Cyber Smart Morning News Update. I am your host, retired FBI Supervisory Special Agent Darren Mott, and I apologize for the late submission of the podcast today. I've been doing some traveling the last couple of days, and actually a programming note, there will not be a podcast on Friday, as I will not be near my podcasting equipment to do anything, so do not look for a podcast come Friday. Let's get right into the news of the day on this cyber news of the day on this Wednesday, September 18th. First is from cybernews.com. Ernestus Napper is reporting FBI warns about China-controlled botnet affecting thousands of Americans. The FBI has warned that cyber actors linked to China have compromised over 260,000 internet-connected devices, mostly routers, to create a massive botnet. It's used for malicious activities such as distributed denial-of-service attacks or as a proxy to conceal identities. According to the FBI advisory, the botnet has been active since mid-2021 and is controlled and managed by Integrity Technology Group, a China-based company. The botnet is most active in the U.S., where it has compromised 126,000 devices as of June 24th, followed by Vietnam and then Germany. The threat actors' prime targets are small office, home office, or SOHO routers, firewalls, network-attached storage, and Internet of Things devices such as webcams, IP cameras, or DVRs. Many of them reach their end of life. However, a big part of the botnet consists of devices still supported by the respective vendors. This botnet infrastructure is comprised of a network of devices known as bots, which are infected in a type of malware that provides threat actors with unauthorized remote access, the advisory reads. So, what is the mitigation for this? Let's see. That's a good question. The actor is actively expanding the botnet with at least 50 different Linux operating system versions found among botnet nodes. The FBI urges device owners and network defenders to implement measures preventing IoT devices from becoming part of the botnet. Recommended mitigations include disabling unused services and ports, implementing network segmentation, monitoring for high network traffic volume, timely applying patches and updates, and replacing default paths. So basically do the basics and you solve the problem with this. The interesting thing, though, is like, where do you find it? How do you know if you have that? I don't really know if that is explained here, other than I guess if the device is called a Integrity Technology Group device. I don't know where you would even buy it. So that's an interesting question, and they don't really give a lot of suggestions here, but just be aware that this botnet is out there. You may have one, or you may be using one, or hard to say. So it's certainly a problem, but this is not helpful. So I apologize for this report. It doesn't really help you. Hopefully we'll have a follow-up on this later in the month to kind of update more on that. Cyberscoop.com, this is more of an opinion piece, but it's interesting in the sense that it has to do with a tactical cyber podcast I did 2 weeks ago with Gentry Lane and Paul Perry talking about deterrence in cyberspace. And this one is called Deterrence in Cyberspace is Possible and Urgent Amid Alarming Hybrid Attacks, the state cyber ambassador says. A narrative once took root in part of the security community that deterrence doesn't apply in cyberspace. Nate Fick, America's first cyber ambassador, like we need one, but okay, said in an interview Tuesday, I have to disagree with that pretty fundamentally. Deterrence is a subject Fick has been talking about ever since he was nominated to serve as the State Department's ambassador at large for cyberspace and digital policy more than 2 years ago. Now, interesting, he's been doing it for 2 years, never heard his name until now. But he said it's all the more urgent to answer now as the pace of hybrid activity, cyber attacks mixed with other types of attacks, from foreign influence operations to physical warfare, is alarming. Something he's learned from visits to nations along the eastern flank of NATO, including Estonia, Moldova, Poland, and the Ukraine. Quote, they're pushing and prodding, they're testing, and we need to ensure that we enforce the norms and do not allow them to expand the box of which is tolerated, Fick said. China is stealing intellectual property. Russia is doing things using digital means that they would never do using kinetic means. So the key is, at the end of the day, is not actually computer to computer, right? He said the technology is a vector for human beings. Very true. Don't disagree. Behind the connection is a person. That person has a national interest or economic interest, and human beings we have cost-benefit calculus that we make in everything we do all the time in human interaction. I don't even know what that sounds like. That's a very political statement. I couldn't even tell you what it means. So I don't disagree. Deterrence is something that can be done. It should be done. There's more in this article if you want to look at it. Does he give a rationale how to do it? Certainly not. This is the State Department, for God's sakes. And again, like I've said before, when I'm looking for cyber strategy, the State Department is not the place to go to. But he brings up a point that's very interesting and a valuable conversation to have, perhaps with people more likely to be able to influence those deterrence efforts. BleepingComputer.com, Sergey Gatlin reporting, Russian security firm Dr. Web disconnects all servers after breach. Well, that's a shame. On Tuesday, Russian anti-malware company Dr. Web disclosed a security breach after its systems were targeted in a cyber attack over the weekend. Dr. Web disconnected all the servers from its internal network after detecting signs of unauthorized interference to its IT infrastructure. The company was also forced to stop delivering virus data updates to customers on Monday while investigating the breach. Let's see if it even says who they are, what they do. The only reason I did this is because it's a Russian company, but it does say that Dr. Web is the latest in a series of Russian cybersecurity companies targeted in cyber attacks in recent years. For instance, pro-Ukrainian hackers Cyber Anarchy Squad breached Russian information security firm Avantpost in June, leaked what they claim to be 390 gigs of data stolen before encrypting over 400 virtual machines. There's not really a lot here other than it's ironic that a cybersecurity company, again, they deal with malware and do all that kind of stuff, didn't know how to protect their own systems. It's a lesson, again, I guess, and learn for those who are not in cybersecurity that you need to do cybersecurity to do the cybersecurity thing so you do not become a cybersecurity victim. Okay, CrowdSec. This is from helpnetsecurity.com. Open source security solution offering crowdsourced protection. I thought that was an interesting headline. CrowdSec is an open source solution that offers crowdsourced protection against malicious IPs. Okay. For the project, the developers have two objectives. Provide free top quality intrusion detection and protection software. There's community participation in creating new detection rules as new vulnerabilities are uncovered. Share and validate the attacker's IP with a network participants to render hackers' resources useless as soon as possible. A consensus system gives a real-time actionable block list with no false positives. This all sounds fantastic. CrowdSec is offering an ever-expanding collection of behavioral detection capabilities that other products simply don't have, thanks to our community's contributions. This is a quote. Our solution stands out from the basic brute force detection available in most tools to more advanced detection like spamming, scalping, and lateral movement in Kubernetes clusters, says the deputy CTO at CrowdSec. All users benefit from a community-driven block list that is updated hourly to prevent known attackers from accessing the network, helping save resources and reducing the likelihood of breaches by mitigating mass attacks. Okay, so there's not much more here other than that's what it is. You can get it for free on GitHub. Interesting thing is it's mostly targeted for businesses, I'd assume, but I might actually download this just to try it, see if it's worthwhile. But more to come on that. But interesting. It's an interesting article. Take a look at it. There's a diagram that kind of talks how they do it. And it may be worth looking into from a low-cost solution to at least starting something, right? Start doing something cybersecurity-wise for your company because the bad thing is coming. And lastly, I take that back. I'm sorry. I have two more. This is from CSO Online. This is Evan Schumann reporting Personhood, cybersecurity's next great authentication battle as AI improves. The ability to differentiate bots from humans is becoming increasingly critical. Near infinite scalability of fake AI humans on the cheap makes human impersonation an awfully powerful weapon for bad actors. CISOs may be intimately familiar with the dozens of forms of authentication for privileged areas of their environments, but a very different problem is arising in areas where authentication has traditionally been neither needed nor desired. Domains such as sale call centers or public-facing sites are fast becoming key battlefields over personhood, where AI bots and humans commingle and CISOs struggle to reliably and quickly differentiate one from the other. Bad bots are becoming more sophisticated, with attackers analyzing defenses and sharing workarounds in marketplaces and message boards. They also become more accessible with bot services available to anyone who can pay for them, says Forrester researchers who wrote in the firm's recent Forrester Wave bot management software report. What is personhood? Basically, it's creating a model that allows you to use your face in more authentic parts of you for authentication versus, say, a PIN code, right? The problem obviously is that deep fakes maybe can fake that and can get around it. It's going to be interesting to see how this kind of personhood credential can get around these AI systems, and that's the hard thing for cybersecurity officials to deal with. This is more of an opinion piece, mind you, not so much a news piece, but it's worth noting that as companies start to increase more personhood type authentication methodologies to understand the potential downsides to it. This is a very lengthy article. Again, as always, all articles mentioned in this podcast are in the show notes if you want to look at it more. But it's an interesting concept as we talk about personhood and it being more of an authentication model going forward. And lastly, InfoSecurityMagazine.com, Phil Muncaster reporting. AT&T agrees to a $13 million FCC settlement over cloud data breach. AT&T has agreed to pay $13 million to the U.S. telco regulator to settle, which is the FCC, to settle a long-running investigation into whether it failed to protect customer data stored in the cloud. The FCC explained that the incident stemmed from a supply chain breach in January 2023, when threat actors exfiltrated AT&T customer data from a vendor's cloud environment. The unnamed vendor was used to generate and host personalized video content, including billing and marketing videos for their customers. The regulator confirmed it's believed about 9 million wireless accounts were accessed as a result. This has to do largely, obviously, with PII being compromised. And it's an interesting move forward because you have to understand once your PII is compromised, you're dealing with it pretty much for the rest of your life. And anyone who gives you a year or two of data protection or identity theft protection, that has a limited value, if not any value, because it's largely reactive, and you're going to be dealing with this in perpetuity. So we all have to do this, right? This is everybody has to deal with PII theft. And as more of your PII is stolen, it becomes more of a problem as more data breaches express more of your data that may not have been available in one breach, but now available in another breach. These things all compound on each other. So it's certainly companies need to recognize the value of the PII they maintain of their clients or their customers or what have you, and the damage it does when it is then stolen. So at least in this case, AT&T is paying the piper, if you will, for that. Now, the $13 million going to the FCC doesn't exactly help those individuals who had their PII compromised, but that's another story for another day. With that, I'm going to let you go about the rest of your Wednesday. Like I said, no podcast is Friday. We'll be back again with Monday with more cyber news. I'm pretty sure that it will continue to be a problem. As you go about your rest of your week and your weekend, know that knowledge is protection. If we can understand the threats targeting us, we can assess our risk. Proceed wisely. Thanks again for listening, sharing, downloading the podcast. Hit me up if you have questions, thoughts, comments. Follow me on LinkedIn. Do the things. And if you're looking for a book for a friend, Get Cyber Smart, a user-friendly guide to protecting your family, your business, and yourself online is available on Amazon. Just search Get Cyber Smart.
Cyber Smart Morning News is written and produced by Cyber Guy Productions. Feel free to email thoughts, comments, or suggestions to Darren@thecyberguy.com. Or follow Darren on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/DarrenMott. Thanks for listening.